Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I am here playing with some new products from Technique Tuesday. This is the Say It Thanks stamp set along with the coordinating die, and this is the Straight Talk Thanks die as well. Now they have these same kind of products in all different sentiments, so if you want something like a birthday stamp set with coordinating dies, they have a bunch of these, so go check those out. But I'm using the Thanks today, and I'm going to position the Straight Talk die at an angle on the front of this piece of Nina Solar White cardstock. And I kind of want to create that angle across the card there. And I'm using a piece of Post-it tape to make sure that this doesn't shift as I run it through my die cut machine. Now this die does not span across the entire card front, but that's okay. I'm going to show you that it's very easy to finish off this line that it does cut. You could use a craft knife and a ruler to complete this cut, or I'm going to use my trimmer here. Now I have a wire guide on my trimmer, which makes it very easy to line up that line, and I am just going to complete the cut. So the die cuts the word along with a little bit of the line, and so I'm just finishing off the cut up to those lines. And you can see when I remove that top portion there, I have this really cool piece card front for the front of my card. Now I'm going to be doing a little bit of rainbow inking on this card front, but I'm going to be adding some dimension and some shine to it using some clear embossing powder. And so I am just going to mask off a portion of the front of this card, and I covered more than I needed to because I tend to be clumsy and I drop things on my cards, so I tend to overmask because I have a lot of accidents. And I'm going to be using some makeup sponges that I've cut up there along with these color box little cat eye ink pads there. And these are a pigment ink pad. Now if you don't have a pigment ink pad, you could do this with some dye inks as well and then just cover the whole thing with some Versamark ink at the end. And I'm just creating kind of a rainbow pattern, and I'm putting this on quite heavy, but you could do it in a lighter way. It's just how dense you want your ink. You can go for a lighter look if you want. So I'm starting with red, and then I'm moving over to orange. And I'm kind of allowing the red to bleed on to the next letter and then the orange to bleed on to the A. So I'm inking up the H with the orange right now, but I'm allowing it to kind of bleed over so that I kind of get a nice transition and blend. And then, of course, I had my yellow and my green, my blue, and my purple to finish that all off. Now, this is still masked, and those are pigment inks. And now I'm taking this Wow Ultra High embossing powder in clear, and I'm covering that up. Now, my red pigment ink was a little bit dry, and it didn't quite want to hold on to that embossing powder. And this is a really thick and large grain embossing powder, so it needs a lot of stick to it. So I just tapped on some Versamark onto that portion that wasn't quite holding it and then recovered that. Now because these grains are so large, you want to start at the back of this and kind of heat from the back so that you're not blowing those grains of embossing powder off. And I finished that off and I embossed one layer, and I decided to smooth it out a little bit more. I was going to go ahead and add another layer, and I switched up my method here and just used my craft sheet for that. And then I'm recoating the whole thing. I added another layer of Versamark ink, and then I recoated the whole thing with some more embossing powder, and then I am heat setting this. You can see me better here, heat setting this from the back first and then moving to the front. And now here is the fun part. I love taking masks off. It is like Christmas morning opening a present. And you can see I have that really nice thin line of ink there, and it's super shiny, and it has this really nice thick raised area. So super fun way to add some color and dimension to this die here. Now I wanted to create a shadow piece, so I kind of marked a piece of black cardstock and tried to line this die up to kind of create a piece that would fit exactly behind it. And I kind of failed. I thought I would have a little bit of edge around this with the black piece, but I didn't quite cut this right. And that's okay. You can kind of see here, it's a little bit off to the side there. You see that piece sticking out on the right-hand side. It's okay. I'm going to make this work. So I just added a bunch of foam adhesive to the back of that inked white piece there, and I'm going to add it on to the black piece here and just put it kind of over to the side. I wanted it shifted to the side, but I wanted to have an edge of black all the way around it. It just didn't work out. That's okay. I'm just going to take the part that is hanging off and just trim that off. And so I have a nice shadow along the top and along those words, but just not around the sides, and that's okay. So now I'm using the coordinating stamp set. This is the Say It Thanks stamp set. Now, if you're smart, you stamp before you mount this on with foam adhesive, but I'm not smart all the time, so I kind of messed up. And I wanted this sentiment to be on a single line. So it says, "For making me smile." And so I cut the stamp apart and I lined it up on my craft mat and then picked it up with my stamp block. Now, when I do this, I like to run through and stamp this to make sure it's exactly lined up how I wanted it, and it is. So I could go ahead and ink this up in some Hero Arts black dye ink and then stamp it on to my piece of white cardstock there. And thankfully, it all turned out okay. I was really nervous because I had already mounted this with a little bit of foam adhesive. So you can see that I've added some more foam adhesive to the back of that black piece, and I'm adding this on to a Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock base. It's cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. And then I'm just finishing this off by adding a little bit of sparkle with some pretty pink posh sparkling clear sequins, and I'm just adding those on with a little Ranger multi-medium in matte finish. And that completes my card for today. So a really fun technique for adding a lot of color and a lot of shine to the front of your cards. As always, I've linked all the products used in this project in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com, where you can find even more information. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I hope you have a fabulous day.